A kingdom divided Rehoboam's tumultuous inheritance. Rehoboam, son of Solomon, inherited a kingdom on the brink of fracture. His father's legendary wealth and wisdom had masked the growing discontent among the tribes of Israel. Solomon's grandiose building projects, while impressive, had come at a steep price. Forced labor and heavy taxation bred resentment in the north. When Rehoboam ascended the throne, the people cried out for relief. The stage was set for a showdown. Rehoboam journeyed to Shechem, a significant site in Israelite history. There, he met with representatives from all 12 tribes. They presented their grievances, demanding a lighter yoke. The kingdom's fate hung in the balance as the young king faced his first test of leadership. Rehoboam sought counsel. As a new king, he was faced with the daunting task of ruling a kingdom that had flourished under his father Solomon. The weight of the crown was heavy, and the decisions he made would shape the future of his people. He first turned to the elders who had served his father. These were men who had seen the kingdom through times of prosperity and challenge, their wisdom forged in the crucible of experience. They advised him to heed the people's pleas, to demonstrate compassion and understanding. They believed that a ruler's strength lay not in oppression but in empathy and justice. They argued that true leadership lay in service, not in wielding absolute power. Their counsel was a call to humility, a reminder that a king's duty was to his people. Their words, steeped in experience, offered a path to unity. They envisioned a kingdom where the ruler and the ruled were bound by mutual respect and shared purpose. However, Rehoboam, perhaps blinded by youthful pride, also consulted with his peers. These were men of his own age who had grown up in the shadow of Solomon's grandeur. These young men, eager to assert their influence, urged him to show no weakness. They saw the throne as a symbol of power to be wielded, not a responsibility to be shouldered. They encouraged him to tighten his grip on power, to demonstrate his authority through strength and might. To them, a show of force was the only way to command respect. Their advice, fueled by ambition and inexperience, sowed the seeds of division. They failed to see the long-term consequences of their counsel, focusing only on immediate dominance. Torn between two starkly different paths, Rehoboam faced a pivotal choice. The weight of the decision was immense, as it would determine not just his reign, but the future of the entire kingdom. He could heed the wisdom of experience, the voices of those who had witnessed the ebb and flow of power. The elders' advice was a call to patience and understanding, virtues that had sustained the kingdom through generations. Or he could succumb to the allure of absolute authority, urged on by the ambitions of his peers. The young advisor's counsel was tempting, promising immediate control and unquestioned power. The decision he made would determine the destiny of his kingdom. It was a moment that would be remembered in the annals of history, a turning point with far-reaching implications. Rehoboam, swayed by the boldness of his contemporaries, chose a path of confrontation. He believed that strength and fear would secure his rule, a belief that would soon be tested. He rejected the elders' counsel, opting instead for a show of force. His decision was a clear message to his subjects. He would not be swayed by pleas for leniency. He addressed the Israelites, not with words of conciliation, but with threats of even harsher burdens. His speech was a stark contrast to the wisdom of his father Solomon. His response, lacking wisdom and foresight, ignited the simmering discontent into open rebellion. The people, already weary from heavy burdens, were pushed to their breaking point. The northern tribes, their grievances ignored, their pleas for fairness met with threats, erupted in defiance. They could no longer see Rehoboam as their king. They renounced their allegiance to the house of David, proclaiming Jeroboam, a former official of Solomon, as their king. This act of rebellion was a declaration of independence from Rehoboam's rule. The kingdom, once united under David and Solomon, was torn asunder. The bonds that had held the tribes together were now broken, and the land was divided. Rehoboam's reign began amidst the ruins of a shattered inheritance. The legacy of his forefathers was in tatters, and the kingdom was left to grapple with the consequences of his choices. This division was not merely political, it cut to the heart of Israelite identity. The tribes, once united by a common purpose, were now at odds with each other. The tribes shared a common history, a covenant with Yahweh, their God. This shared heritage was now overshadowed by the rift that had formed. Now, that unity was fractured. The once strong and cohesive nation was now a collection of divided tribes, each with its own grievances and ambitions. The consequences of Rehoboam's decision, his failure to grasp the weight of counsel, would reverberate through generations. His choice had set in motion a chain of events that would shape the destiny of Israel for years to come. As Rehoboam licked his wounds, nursing his pride and plotting to reclaim what he believed was rightfully his, he found himself at a crossroads. The weight of his ancestors' legacy bore heavily on his shoulders, and the desire to restore the kingdom to its former glory consumed his thoughts. Amidst this turmoil, a solitary figure emerged with a message of peace. This figure, unassuming yet resolute, walked towards the city with a purpose that seemed divinely inspired. Shemaiah, a man of God, received a divine message for the king: abandon the path of war. His presence was a stark contrast to the chaos that surrounded Rehoboam, and his words carried the weight of divine authority. Yahweh, the God of Israel, had allowed this division to occur. It was a part of a greater plan, one that Rehoboam could not alter through sheer force or determination. It was not Rehoboam's place to reunite the kingdom by force. The division was a divine decree, a consequence of actions taken long before Rehoboam's reign. This message, delivered with the authority of the divine, must have been a bitter pill for Rehoboam to swallow. His dreams of a united kingdom, of proving himself a worthy successor to David and Solomon, were dashed in an instant. He had assembled a mighty army, prepared to march north and crush the rebellion. The soldiers, loyal and ready for battle, awaited his command, their spirits high and their weapons sharp. He yearned to prove himself a worthy successor to David and Solomon, to restore the kingdom to its former glory. The weight of his lineage pressed upon him, and the expectations of his people were a constant reminder of his duty. Yet God, through Shemaiah, urged restraint, a relinquishing of control. The message was clear: true strength lay not in conquest but in obedience to the divine will. Rehoboam, to his credit, listened to the prophet's words. The decision to stand down was not an easy one, but it was a testament to his ability to recognize the greater good. He heeded the divine message and stood down his army, averting a bloody civil war. The soldiers, though disappointed, respected their king's decision and disbanded, returning to their homes and families. This act of obedience, though born perhaps out of necessity rather than genuine acceptance, demonstrated a degree of wisdom that belied his earlier impulsiveness. It was a moment of growth for Rehoboam, a step towards becoming a more thoughtful and discerning ruler. Shemaiah's message, however, was not only a call for peace, it was a stark reminder that even kings were subject to a higher authority. The divine will was supreme, and no earthly power could override it. Rehoboam, forced to confront the limits of his power, retreated to Jerusalem, the capital of his diminished kingdom. The city, once a symbol of unity and strength, now represented the reality of a divided nation. He would rule over Judah, the tribe of his father, while the northern tribes embarked on their own path. The kingdom was divided, but the lessons learned from this experience would shape Rehoboam's reign and the future of his people. Section 4. Fortress. Judah, Rehoboam's strategic defense against invasion. Faced with a hostile kingdom to the north and potential enemies lurking on his borders, Rehoboam embarked on a campaign to fortify his realm. The political landscape was fraught with tension, and Rehoboam knew that a show of strength was essential to deter any would-be aggressors. He understood that while God might have permitted the division of the kingdom, it was his responsibility to protect what remained. This divine mandate did not absolve him of the duty to safeguard his people and their way of life. He would make Judah a fortress, a beacon of strength in a region rife with turmoil. The fortifications were not just physical barriers but symbols of resilience and determination. Rehoboam focused his efforts on key cities, strategic points that could withstand siege and repel invaders. These cities were chosen for their geographical advantages and their historical significance. He strengthened their defenses, reinforcing walls, constructing towers, and stockpiling provisions. Cities like Bethlehem, Hebron, and Ziklag were transformed into formidable strongholds, each playing a crucial role in the overall defense strategy. These cities, each with historical and geographical significance, were transformed into formidable strongholds. The fortifications were meticulously planned and executed, ensuring that each city could function independently if necessary. These cities were not merely military installations, they were also economic and cultural hubs. Rehoboam understood that a thriving economy was as crucial to the kingdom's stability as its military strength. Rehoboam encouraged trade, attracting artisans, merchants, and farmers to settle within their walls. This influx of skilled individuals and traders helped to create a vibrant and prosperous community. He understood that a prosperous and populous kingdom with thriving centers of commerce and community was less susceptible to external threats. A strong economy would provide the resources needed to maintain and expand the fortifications. Rehoboam's efforts to fortify Judah were not solely driven by paranoia or a thirst for power. He consulted with his advisors and military leaders, ensuring that his plans were both practical and effective. He genuinely believed he was acting in the best interests of his people, ensuring their safety and prosperity. His vision was to create a secure environment where his subjects could live and thrive without fear of invasion. He sought to create a kingdom that was not only strong militarily, but also resilient economically and cohesive socially. Rehoboam's strategic defense initiatives were a testament to his commitment to his people's well-being and his determination to leave a lasting legacy of strength and unity. Section 5. A sanctuary for all the Levites' exodus and Judah's spiritual revival. The division of the kingdom had profound religious implications. Jeroboam, fearful that his people would return to worship in Jerusalem, established alternative places of worship in the north. He erected golden calves, ancient symbols of fertility, in Bethel and Dan, challenging the religious authority of the temple in Jerusalem. This schism had a significant impact on the Levites, the priestly tribe tasked with maintaining the temple and conducting religious rites. Loyal to Yahweh and the Davidic line, many Levites abandoned their ancestral homes in the north and flocked to Judah, seeking refuge in Rehoboam's domain. This influx of Levites, far from being a burden, was a boon to Rehoboam's kingdom. They brought with them their knowledge of the law, their religious expertise, and their unwavering devotion to Yahweh. Rehoboam welcomed them with open arms, recognizing their value as spiritual leaders and guardians of tradition. The arrival of the Levites had a transformative effect on Judah's religious landscape. They strengthened the religious infrastructure, re-establishing the proper observance of festivals and sacrifices. They served as judges and teachers, ensuring that the law of Moses was upheld and passed down to future generations.